Ladies and gentlemen, the holiday season came early in 2024, as arguably one of the best chess games of the year was just played. And it just so happens, it's not between two people you've never heard of, it's between Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. This game was played at the Global Chess League, and dear lord, I mean, these two playing each other is Barcelona-Real Madrid, all right? Like, it is the El Clásico of the last 3 to 4 years of chess. I mean, it is some of the best action that we get, and it was an incredible game. Spectacular theater. What's that meme? Absolute cinema. That's what it was, okay? Friendly reminder, at the Global Chess League, they play 20-minute with 0-second bonus time. So you literally could beat the person in ridiculous time scrambles. It puts a lot of pressure. I mean, it's an absurd time control that has led to multiple controversies, but it puts a level of pressure on the players. And once again, for like 10, 15 seconds, I will remind you of all the things that are coming later this month. Updated date on the top one. Link coming soon for the GothamChess chessboard. I got a lot of comments like, Gotham, can I get this in India? Gotham, can I get this in Europe? We'll work on it, all right? I have no idea how that stuff works with licensing, distributing, but Americans, rejoice, all right? Rejoice, because you're gonna get 15,000 of those on shelves. Got the chess deck back there. That thing drops soon. The website for Pia Cramling versus Gotham Chess has come out. So soon tickets will be out for the fan event as well. It's a lot of stuff coming this year. Chess League 2.0 being worked on and much more. European tour in 2025? Yeah. Germany, gonna be in London, gonna be in Paris, gonna be in Brussels. That's not even on the list. Yeah, so Europeans, I'll be seeing you very soon. All right. Magnus opened with e4. Hikaru played the Sicilian defense. For some reason, I'm getting some... Okay, there we go. Sicilian defense. The most combative. All right, the most combative thing that you can play against e4. Magnus plays knight f3. Hikaru plays g6. That is already a big decision. He's not playing d6, the main line with knight or Sicilian. He's not playing knight c6. He's not playing e6. Hikaru recently has been playing a lot of this accelerated dragon. It's one of the easiest openings. It's one of the easiest Sicilians, I should say, to learn if you're going to play it. Magnus, now for a second time in the Pro Chess League, plays into, I called it the Pro Chess League, Global Chess League. Pro Chess League is something that existed for many, many years. And we have this Maroczy bind. Now, what's funny is here, after knight c6, bishop e3, Hikaru plays what Magnus played against Alireza. You don't have to remember that, but queen b6. And in that game, Alireza went backwards. Magnus goes forward, plays knight to b5, blocking the queen from hitting b2, threatening the queen, but also bishop b2 is slightly problematic. Hikaru plays queen a5 check. Already, like, it has the makings of a very dynamic and complicated game. That knight now drops back to c3, and black plays another queen move. Folks, I'm just going to tell you right now, you better not play chess like this. 3 out of his first 8 moves for a whopping 37.5% from yours truly, the mathematician, PhD genius, and also very humble, myself. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to lose your queen. All right, let these big boys do it. Magnus plays queen c1. That move is fine. I think queen c2 or queen d2 is slightly preferred by the computer, but queen c1, obviously nothing wrong with it. Now we're going to get a little bit of normalcy. Hikaru plays d6. Magnus blocks the diagonal and plays knight d2. Hikaru plays bishop e6, bishop e2, and now Hikaru is going to play knight f6 and castle, and Magnus is going to castle. No, no, bishop d4. What? The funniest part is, this is the best move, which is so absurd. The fact that, you know, black has this bishop hidden behind the pawns and it's supposed to be the protector of the dark squares. No, he actually has to act now, because the thing is, if Hikaru lazily plays knight f6, Magnus castles. Hikaru castles. White actually gets a very quick pawn attack going. And black doesn't have a lot of easy play. You play knight g4 here, I take. And Hikaru must have been familiar with some of the analysis here to come up with this. And he plays bishop d4. Bishop takes. By the way, can we talk about the fact that bishop d4 confused Magnus to such an extent that he spent 5 out of his 16 minutes, basically? Or roughly like 32 to 34%? I mean, he doesn't have bonus time. Like, this is all he's got. That's all he's got, right? So bishop takes d4, knight takes d4. He now moves the bishop out of the way, and he's ready to castle, which he does. But now Hikaru's fine, and obviously now Hikaru's going to castle his king and play a normal game. No, he plays knight g4 to put the knight on e5 and also hit these two pawns in the meantime. The position is super weird. Magnus kicks out the knight, says, I don't understand what you're doing, Hikaru. Why would you put your knight on e5? Because the thing is, the knight on e5 is just going to be a target for any future attack. The knight probably should have stayed on f6. The bishop goes back to f1. Hikaru from the opening is up 4.5 minutes. This is a dominant spot to be in with black. And yet, instead of knight g4, he probably should have just castled. He obviously didn't like the prospect of anything, I mean, not right away, but just in general. That's why he went for this knight g4. But it's not the best plan, apparently. And even though black castles, I think Hikaru might have realized here, I don't think I should have put my knight on e5, which is why he spent 3 minutes castling. And that definitely gave an indication to Magnus, I don't think he likes his position as much as he should. Right, because here, if I ask you what's the most natural move, you probably castle. Maybe Hikaru thought he could take on c4. Maybe. Like, if you just trade everything, black is just up a pawn. But that's not what he would do. What he would do is, in this position, he would play knight d5, winning the game on the spot. You attack the queen, the bishop is hanging, so you have to make a queen move. And if you play queen b5, that rook is hanging. You lose. So that was the idea. Castles. Now, both boys got 10 minutes. All right, one of them is 9, but whatever. He has Magnus bonus, so it feels like he has 10 minutes on the clock. And now they have to play this position. Keep in mind, they have no bonus. Like, this is it. The game will end, and somebody will either lose on time or there will be a result. Now the game gets unbelievably complicated. It's already very complex. Like, it's a Sicilian, there's an imbalance. Black has a slightly weaker king, but black has good piece presence. But actually, structurally, it is white who has an advantage because the queen is in a very bad spot, and the queen can be used as a bit of a piñata. Magnus plays a3, the queen goes back, and now he plays knight to d5 with a very simple idea that if you try to retreat again, now I come forward it's just like f4. Like, every move pushes you backwards. And all of us, like, how did we get here? The queen was evicted. From b4 to d8, both knights got kicked out, and white is just crushing. So that's the issue, which is why Hikaru plays bishop d5, ed5, and tries to fight back with this move e6. Magnus has 8 minutes and 43 seconds to figure out the nuances, to figure out the complexities. Also, e6, don't forget, there's no dark squares anymore, right? There's no defense. So knight e4. Hitting this, going to f6, potentially. Hikaru keeps getting wild here. He plays f5. That defends against knight f6, but all his pawns are so far forward, the king is probably weak. And Magnus here uncorks a beauty. Just an absolute kisser. Straight through the guard, boop, right in the mouth, c5. That is not what you were expecting. We now get dc5. Now, obviously, as you see from Hikaru, he spent 3 minutes because he was preparing himself for this move. That's why he spent 1 second. The move c5 did not shock him, but he wanted to work out all of the details, right? Magnus played this move pretty quickly because he obviously was calculating it while Hikaru was calculating it. So you got two of the best in the world, number 1, number 2 in the world in ranking, calculating the lines. Magnus goes c5. That is straight up a clean pawn sacrifice. Now, why is it not as clean as you would expect? Because it weakens the knight on g5, and when you play knight on e5, and when you play knight g5, you threaten the knight, and the pawn behind it begins to hang. Hikaru is under substantial pressure here. He centralizes the queen to play defense. This is what he saw, but here comes queen e3. So both guys have 6 minutes to figure out the rest of this really complicated game. The most direct threat right now is this attack on the knight. And yet, however, knight c2 is a fork, but probably you just get to e5, and then you probably take some more stuff. So knight goes back to f7 attacking, and Magnus arrives on the e6 square. He now has a pawn back in his possession. Hikaru, rook e8, pins the knight to the queen. Magnus puts the bishop on c4. I gotta tell you, if I had this position against almost any player around my level in the world, I would be confident I would win. Why? Because this knight is so strong. You go knight c2 in this position, queen c3 is a fork. That's it. You just lose. Black does not have any easy moves here. Yeah, and Hikaru finding the best. So keep this in mind. You got the top two by classical rating, probably the top two in Blitz chess as well. I know Ali Reza got second place in 2024 Speed Chess Championship, but anyway, they're also two of the best defensive players in the world. Hikaru arguably the best, and he plays the best move, knight to d8. Targeting the knight like this. Magnus, rook a d1, centralizing his rook. Hikaru gets rid of that knight, but now the pawn is there. And this, I mean, this is scary stuff. Scary stuff, but Hikaru stops the pawn from moving. 4.5 minutes. But he is down 20% of Magnus's time. This is really, really crazy stuff, and Magnus finds the best move to turn the screw. b4, trying to remove the defense of the knight in the center of the board. Hikaru's next move, very easy, b6. Now what? How's Magnus going to advance here? He trades. He trades to isolate that pawn. Now that pawn is just there. h4. Spends 2 seconds. He's like, I want to go h5. This is basically what he wants. He wants to open up the black king. So h4. Hikaru here spending some time, finds the best move, counter-attacking with his f-pawn, making the queen go somewhere. Magnus maintains central position, queen e4. His position looks fantastic. Aesthetically, it's very, very nice. He's not up a pawn, but it really feels like he is. Hikaru king g7. Why? Because you might as well put as many things as possible on the dark square. Like, the majority of black's pieces right now, and if the rook goes to f8, all will stand on dark squares, which means this bishop can't really do anything, and the dark squares are very, very strong. The knight on d4 is very strong, but still white is better. But white is better if this was a classical chess game. In this type of format, I'm not so sure. Rook b1 is a nice move, though. Moving the rook off the center line with the simple intention to play rook b7, removing the blockade. Again, the idea is this. If you get through, you simply win. Look, rook c7, e7 is pretty nasty. You make a knight, you get the queen. You win the game. So rook b1. Hikaru now has to think he plays knight to f5. He has 3 minutes and 47 seconds to figure out this position, and we haven't even reached the climax here. I mean, we're getting there, all right? Rook d1. He puts the knight back. Okay, Hikaru's fine with a draw. He doesn't care if the position repeats 3 times. Magnus isn't. h5. Look at that. Now, the move that Hikaru plays here is so absurd. I mean, h5, again, simple point. If you open up the king, it's just risky. I might have rook d3. I might have rook b3. Getting over here, you can't take me because, you'd be pinning yourself. h5. Hikaru here plays the best move. The best move in this position. Do you know what the best move in this position is? It's to courageously walk your king to f6. King f6. Getting closer to the pawn, kind of threatening to take it. And also, sometimes you may trade queens. King to f6 is a gangster move, which is why Magnus goes back to the e file, doesn't let the queen get closer. And now Hikaru plays rook e8, lining up every single piece that he has against the pawn on e6. Magnus brings the other rook back to the center of the board, not allowing the rook to move. And I can't believe the move that Hikaru plays here. I mean, king f6 is crazy. The next move is even crazier. In this position, with all this pressure, you can't take this pawn because you're going to lose material. He calls Magnus's bluff, and he takes the pawn on h5. His king is now completely open. He has 4 pawn islands and doubled h-pawns, and yet, this is defended. And g takes h5 happens, and suddenly, my favorite thing to say, who is attacking who? Who's attacking who? Magnus plays rook d3, spending 40 seconds. Hikaru rook g8, 327, 246, no bonus time. We're going down to 0. Rook h3. Now this looks really nice. I'm going to take on h5. I'm going to take on h7. I still can't quite get to your king. You're kind of covering everything. Hikaru spent some time here. He was obviously looking at f3. By the way, you can actually play king g5 in this position. This is how absurd this is. You can play king to g5. But Hikaru plays the best move, rook g5, defending things. Now Magnus plays rook h4. The threat is rook takes f4. Or queen takes f4. Rook takes f4 is better. Now if I ask you, what is the most natural move in this position? A lot of you would tell me rook f5. And I would not be able to tell you why Hikaru in this position chose not to play rook f5. Rook f5, to me, makes plenty of sense. It defends everything. Maybe there was queen a8? with nasty intentions. And also there are moves like queen d3, and it's just hard to make a move with black, As the queen comes in and maybe h5 is hanging, Hikaru says, you know what? I got 2.5 minutes. He's got 3. Magnus, let's finish this how we started this together. F3, a counter-attacking move. We see the evaluation bar jump up there. But the point is very simple. If G3, he's going to sacrifice the rook. He's going to sacrifice the rook and get his queen in. And this is queen G2 mate. This is unbelievable. F3 has been played with 1 minute and 42 seconds. He spent, that was not an efficient time use. 50 seconds spent, plays F3. It's not even the best move. Now, rook to F4 check is the best move. The king goes back to G7. And Magnus, well, wasn't the idea to sacrifice here, right? But now you can't do that anymore. So G3, Magnus is winning. Magnus is winning, but Hikaru is not done. He saw H4. This is a threat. You cannot take with the pawn. And if you take with the rook, I will sacrifice my rook on G3 with that same exact attack. Now, obviously, in the game, there is no evaluation bar. I like to have the evaluation bar so some of you know the evaluation. A lot of you watching this are newer to chess, or you're not newer, but you are beginners. But imagine you were playing this position. There's no eval bar. And somebody plays H4 against you. All you know is that if rook H4, rook G3. If you don't take, there's this. So why is this position +4? Magnus doesn't know it's +4. Hikaru doesn't know it's +4. And you have 2 minutes and 50 seconds. It's +4 if and only if you find the move. And it's not even clear why this is the best move. Bishop D3. Yes, of course, we all understand the H7 pawn is under attack. What happens if the king goes to H8? Well, if the king goes to H8, white is fast on the 8th rank. So Hikaru stumbles. He calculated H4. He probably looked at rook G4, rook H4 lines, but bishop D3, rook G6, you cannot do this anymore because now rook H7 and all of this is simply too powerful. Magnus here is winning, but he misses it. He misses bishop D3. He spends, you know, a little bit of time calculating rook H4. He believes Hikaru's bluff, which wasn't a bluff. I don't think Hikaru saw the power of bishop D3. Hikaru plays rook takes G3, and now we have king H1. The rook has not been taken. Now it can be taken, though. Now it can be taken, and rook H7 is still a threat, so Hikaru has to dart out of the position. 2 minutes and a half versus 1 minute and a half, still absolutely zero resolution. Both kings are weak. I would argue white's king at this point is actually weaker, right? We have to defend against this. So what does Magnus do here? How does he play? Well, he brings his rook from the E file to the G file. He's trying to trade the rook to get rid of the blockade of the position. And I'm also going to turn this off now. There's another threat of rook G1. It's not to take on G6. It's to sacrifice on H7, removing the defense of the G6 rook completely. And this is mate. So rook G1 is a really nasty move. And in this position, the position is equal. But only if Hikaru finds one move. Otherwise, rook H7, and this is game over. With black, you can go here, but then you have no way to stop this. You play king F8, I play rook F4, queen A8, you're going to lose. So Hikaru, with 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock. In this position, sacrifices. The rook! Rook takes E6! The best move! The only move! Rook takes E6. I'm going to put a brilliant sticker on it. Rook takes E6. A spectacular defensive counter shot. He defends his own rook. And the point is, it's actually really bad if you take it with the bishop because you lose the defense of E2. And now rook G1, king G1, and knight E2 is a crusher. You can't get off the back rank. Anywhere you go here, the queen slides in, and it's mate. It's mate in a couple of moves. Queen D1, queen G3, queen G1, and queen G2. And you simply lose the game. So rook takes E6, a spectacular move. The bishop has to protect. How Hikaru saw this, he played this move with 1 minute remaining on the clock. And here's the craziest part about the position. It's still not over. Rook takes g6, played by Magnus. He doesn't blunder. Rook g6, queen b7. White's king without a move. Black's king without a move. King to f6. And in this position, I mean, what do you play? This king is about to go for a jog. I'm not even exaggerating. Queen f7 is played. And that's not a good move. Hikaru is now winning. King to g5. Can you believe it? The king has gone for a complete turnaround here. King g5. Queen takes h7. And Hikaru here with 40 seconds on the clock can play a devastating move which absolutely kills the game. And that move, whether he saw it or not, is rook h6. Forcing all the pieces off the board. If queen g7 is played, you take the rook. Maybe he missed that. Maybe that was what was missed. Rook h6 is a full trade, after which you play knight f5. Maybe he missed knight f5. Or maybe, I don't know. I think knight e2 is also good, but never mind. You have to play knight f5, apparently. Knight f5, bishop here, king g... Okay, well, this is... It's hard to see that, but the only winning... And apparently this is a winning endgame because you're just up and you're too active and you're going to promote. So... And white is going to have to lose the bishop. So queen h7, the only winning move is rook h6. Instead, Hikaru plays knight to f5. Now it's a draw. The rook is hanging. Queen d1 is a threat, though. Rook h5 played. King f4! What? The king is on f4! Bishop f1, Magnus playing defense. The position is hanging on a knife's edge because of mutually assured destruction. Basically, black cannot play a move like queen d1. Actually, probably can, because after queen g6, it's a draw. So both players here hang on a knife's edge, and the position is just like they're both stuck. There's nothing they can do, you know? And we get, in the game, rook g5 with 30 seconds on the clock. Rook g5, king g5. Magnus is now up a minute. Let's keep in mind there's no bonus time. He darts over here. Hikaru's centralizing the queen. And in this position, under the threat of mutually assured destruction, king g1 was played. And with 28 seconds on his clock, Hikaru shuffled back and forth. And the players breathed a sigh of relief and a draw. That was chaos. Absolute cinema. A black king walking forward with his troops. King g5 possible, right? Defending himself, rook g5, then launching a counterattack. Sacrificing his rook with rook g3. Just insane stuff. Magnus had to find bishop d3. He missed it. And then rook g1, counter-sacrifice. Another rook sacrifice on e6. Hikaru was sacrificing both rooks. And Magnus had to be super careful. And then the black king after that walked out to g5 and he was winning, but it was really weird. I'm not really sure this qualifies as a win with 40 seconds on the clock. And because both players are so close to getting mated here, the best that can happen is they protect their kings, they don't attack, and the game ends in a draw. Look, we can't always get a winner and a loser, but I feel like if we're going to get draws between Magnus and Hikaru, that's the type of draw that we want. That was a crazy high-level Sicilian battle. I wanted to share it with all of you. And hopefully we get another one, because I think in the Global Chess League, they play each other twice. So I'll catch you for that one. All the links to all the stuff I've been talking about in my introduction is in the description when they come out. Tickets and the board and everything. So stay tuned. Appreciate your support. And get out of here.